What's going on, man?
Man, not a whole heck of a lot. I'm sorry I'm looking down. I'm turning my alarm that's coming on off because there's no need for it, and my timing
Yeah,
stinks. I've had lots of time to get that ready. All right, now I am ready. How you doing, man?
man, we're doing good. Welcome back to the show, Wellness Check.
Dude, thank you a ton for hanging in there. Thank you a ton for coming back, and to you straight up, man. Like I was saying before we got going, I'm really sorry about my schedule, but I'm really glad it worked out today, and we'll fix it in the future. Like you was saying, we'll fix it for the future.
Oh, yeah. That's cool, man. What's been going down?
So much. There is so much good junk for us to talk about, man. I am
Heck yeah.
ecstatic. It's awesome. Where would you like to start? Do you want to start with you pick? There's lots of good stuff. And which one want to talk about, brother?
Oh, man, I got a whole. Oh, I'm cool with whatever, man. Uh, I've been just watching nothing but TV shows and movies and cool mess like that. So that's all. That's all I know that's going on in the world.
You're good to go, man. What you watching, man? Because I'm with you. I got a couple too, so this is gonna be great.
Yeah. I got through the Stranger Things. That's what I've been telling everybody for the past couple of years. Like, I'll turn Netflix back on when there's new Stranger Things to watch, and indeed I did, and I dug the crap out of it. You know, I one of the things that I didn't intend on doing, but I went back after season 4, then the extra episodes that came out. It's like, well, why do y'all waste everybody's time doing that? But uh, I rewatched because I always really liked season 1. Season 2 feels kind of like the sequel, and then season 3 was kind of like I just don't remember digging it. And season 2 is way better than I remember it being. I can
Okay.
go ahead and say that. And I think season 3 was a lot better than I gave it credit for. So, uh, I guess my one thing, and I've watched a lot of reviews and stuff of people of what they thought about season 4, is the one thing that nobody brought up that I thought was a big glaring thing is just that the chronology of the story just doesn't seem to jive, and it's hard because it's not as fresh in my mind, but it's hard to really. I had a lot of good points like no, because this happened there and this happened there, so it can't work. But
It ain't working.
uh, I, but it just it felt like there's a reveal in this past season of a character that we thought was gone. That's back. And that's like uh, they waste no time with that. That begins the season, and at first it's like I was like, but then it's like no, this is a flashback. But then they are indeed back, and I'm like, so we're building this whole character this whole season of Vecna, who we get to the end of his, well, what we think's the end of him, and we realize that okay, he was the original Hawkins lab experiment,
Okay.
and we've had 01111 this whole time, and as he's descending into the upside down, it's 001. So I was like, oh, that's cool. But uh, if he's the big bad that's been going around killing all the kids in Hawkins this past season, and we don't find out until the end that there was a particular character that this it's just I just nobody brought up the fact that if you sat down and you kind of looked at it like so Vecna was here the whole time, but he doesn't get created until the end. The last thing we see going in, I think it was into the episode and then the movie that dropped it. It's like, but the point I'm trying to make is it's so good that you just don't care. You get to the end of the season, you're kind of like, man, you can nitpick anything, and I'm just not going to. So, uh, did you like it or not? Not dug the crap out of it. That's what my long drawn out way of trying to say that.
It's interesting. Most people I've talked to about the fourth season of Stranger Things, pardon me, y'all, had a similar experience and exactly what you were talking about, where like maybe 2 wasn't their thing, and most people I know 3 wasn't their thing at all. But it's strange. I think we talked about this on maybe the last show. That was 14 years ago, so maybe not. But I think we've talked about it like personally. One of my favorite things about reviews for the latest Batman movie and is that people didn't freak out about the Robert Pattinson Batman movie in the typical DC versus Marvel. Oh, this is the good one. I told you they were going to have a good one, because this one legitimately was. People like really seemed to affectionately love that movie, that version of Batman, and it's so cool. It's really neat when people love something positively, whether you're into it or not, or whether you know anything about it. And that was the impression I got from Stranger Things season 4. Is people really got into it and really liked it, and it reminded them why they liked the series in the first place. And I have, like, just like you were saying, I've had a couple people tell me it got them to go back and watch 2 and 3 again, and they were like, yeah, second time through they were a lot better. And that's awesome, and I'm glad that people are getting some enjoyment out of all of it now. But totally on season 4, man, people are just into it. They're just having such a good time with it. I give you a perfect microcosm of that is the Kate Bush phenomenon, where
Oh, right,
everyone
yes.
freaked out about that song. And
Yeah.
because when I first heard it, I'm like, I understand I'm an old man. I'm old enough to remember when Ghost came out. So I'm like, okay, songs from 20 years ago getting back on the charts is not that uncommon. We saw it
Yeah.
with Ghost, we saw it with Wayne's World. Okay, well, I don't know why this is that big of a deal. And the thing that was cool about it is people really do like the song, and that's okay. It's great because it is a cool song. Kate Bush has lots of good songs, but
Yeah.
the thing that I love so much, and it took me a minute because I didn't see it initially, but it's just the more people, like the more reviews and the more people you see talking about it, man, it's the way apparently, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the videos I saw, people are explaining that it's the way that the song itself is used in context for the story, in particular the character that it kind of becomes the theme for, and it's so good and so
Yeah.
fitting and so awesome that you can't hear it and not get excited all over again about the storyline. And I'm like, now that is freaking cool. That's a very, I don't know, just that type of specific positivity is really, really neat, man.
It's used really, really well.
Yeah.
Uh, and honestly, uh, I wasn't familiar with this particular Kate Bush song until it blew up. I was like, oh, now I got a new favorite song.
That song, I'm with you. As far as her version of it, I don't know. A long time ago, millions and millions of years ago, I used to date this girl named Sierra, and Sierra loves the band Placebo. Well, maybe I should be past tense. It's been a while, but at the time anyway, she loved the band Placebo, and they have a really, really awesome cover of that song. So that version I knew, and so it's like, okay, cool, that's awesome. But it just made me very happy that it's from the '80s and we love it, and that's not at all what happened here. People legitimately got like this affection for it, and I'm like, that's freaking cool, man. That's super neat.
Net, going through the season and with the way Vecna chooses to off people uh, in the show, that Netflix did a really made me mad thing because you see the uh, it's very Nightmare on Elm Street uh, inspired this season, which that's not a bad thing. But you see the certain way that characters are lifted off the ground and are done away with by Vecna. And one of the point I'm trying to make is one of the little screen things on Netflix leading up to a big episode, and it's associated with that song. You see the character that everybody loves that's associated with that song is floating, and you're like, oh no, why would you show that? Knowing everybody knew that's what was coming. Just don't let me know that this person I really like is that. Oh, they're already gonna die.
They're all gone.
Yeah. Bye bye. So, but it was just I was like, man, don't. Everybody loves the character Max. It's associated with that song, and it's like, man, I know I know everything's building up to that. Just don't make it that obvious that, oh well she's dead.
It's no good,
it was
man.
it was grim.
It was grim. We get it. It was grim. How many of them have there been?
So
It's grim. We get it.
One real quick thing, going back to the Kate Bush song, is doing the Peachtree this year. Like the first part of season 4 had already been out, and you had like literally that weekend. The rest of it drops, and anyway, people love making their signs going down Peachtree. That's what somebody made. The sign said running up that hill.
It's awesome. That's great, man.
Everybody that got it was like, yeah. As I was watching Stranger Things, and then while that's going on, Disney Plus drops Obi-Wan in that same time period, and I watched the crap out of that. And I had the same. I just going into it, I was like, man, let Ewan be in something Star Wars related that's good. And man, we got that for him, and I think Hayden Christensen both. Man, I just dug a lot of it, and I guess it's the nitpicky side of me is you're watching the series Obi-Wan, and it's you can poke holes in a lot of the stuff that goes on, but I'm a sucker for these stories, and I still dig them. But all through the prequels, well, through episodes 2 and 3, you keep thinking, okay, when's Obi-Wan going to learn to commune? Because even Yoda says, I'll teach you how to do all that stuff. And we finally get our big payoff of that in the show, but it comes at the worst time possible. It's like the perfect. I don't know. The perfect ending to the show they could have had, because the show has been about the Lars family resistance of wanting to have anything to do with Obi-Wan, and they want to raise Luke and keep him safe in their way. And the build to the perfect ending of the show is, after all that goes on in the show, you have Obi-Wan and Luke introduced. Hello there. Cut to black. And no, that wasn't good enough. Couldn't do that. We had to have Obi-Wan go and have his Qui-Gon moment. And he shows up and he has his communion with Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon's just a real bitch about it. He's like, I've literally been waiting here this whole time. It's like, but anyway, the point is, that has to be the end of the show. We can't end on Luke and cut to black. The perfect moment to have the Qui-Gon moment was during his big confrontation with Anakin. And there's a particular moment where they're keeping with the tradition of the sequels to the original, as apparently the Force now is nothing but lifting and lowering rocks. And they keep with that. And Obi-Wan finds himself in a tough spot in his fight with Anakin. And, as the rocks begin to lift off of him, that's the moment when you have Qui-Gon be like, can I step in for a minute? Can we talk about this? I think that, and it make more sense, in the show. I think that's the moment that you have Qui-Gon have to be like, I got to step in and try to give you a little bit of advice here. Something like that. But they wanted to have it be the big finale of the show. It's like, man, you just didn't need it to end that way.
You don't always need the run in to be at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, so I couldn't really say. But I understand where you're coming from. Like the sound, the sound of what you're describing is what should have been the ending. Sounds a lot better to me too.
That's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, I can dig it, man. My television watching lately has actually been threefold. I've been watching all kinds of stuff lately, man. I got this guy that I work with. Sorry, I got a freaking ingrown hair that I'm working on. Sorry. Um, for Pete's sake, I'm so bad with people's names, and it just shot right into my head, man. Jacob. We're with this kid named Jacob, and Jacob is an anime guy, and I like having anime people because I don't know a ton about it myself. So it's always good to be able to talk to people that really, really like it, and they can kind of get the cream for you. And he was telling me about this show called Demon Slayer that is on Netflix, and that's cool because I started it, and I like it because it's a cool story. I don't know if it would be feudal Japan or not, but basically, whenever I say that, I get a very specific mental image, and I assume everybody else does too. And it's just this story about this kid whose family gets murdered by demons, and his little sister is not dead, but she's changed. She's basically Reagan from The Exorcist.
Okay.
But the part where I knew I was in trouble, as far as I got to find out now, is he's in a fight with his little sister, and it's anime and it's all violent and shaking and stuff like that, and so he's all down, she's like on top of him trying to like bite him, and it's just the POV, the shot is over her shoulder, you can't see her face or anything, you just see him, and he's all struggling and worrying about dying and things like that, and these big raindrops start falling on his face, and then it cuts out to her perspective, not her perspective, but a shot of her, and it's not raindrops, it's her crying on him because she's still in there. And man, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, well, I got to find out now because I thought that was such a good choice. That's the first episode. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be awesome. And I've watched 5 of them so far, and it's very enjoyable. There's some laughs in it, which are cool considering the subject matter. It's not the easiest stuff to laugh at. And when it needs to be serious, it is. But I'm enjoying it so far, man. I like that quite a lot. So that was part 1. Part 2, I hate to do them out of order. I hate to not build up to best for last, but I kind of have to because it makes sense. The third thing piggybacks off the second thing. But the second thing I watched on the subject of Netflix, and boy, howdy do I know you know where I'm going here. Oh, September the 5th, something I've been waiting decades on, premiered. And it was The Sandman. And so I hung out on the 6th and the 7th, and I watched the first 9 on the first 2 days and then finished up the third day. I have since gone back and watched the entire thing 2 more times, and then I log into Netflix the other night, and the first thing that pops up is Sandman suggestion with the big red bar on it that says new episode, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? And they went in apparently just a few days ago, and there is the Sandman comic book series. If anyone that's watching this that's read it knows, it's 75 issues, but in those 75 issues, maybe 50 of them are the story of Morpheus, and the rest, there's lots of one-shots and little 2-part stories, 3-part stories. They do lots of that stuff. One of the one-off episodes or issues is called Dream of a Thousand Cats. One of the other stories is Calliope. Those are the 2 stories they did for this one-off episode, and it starts up, and it's Dream of a Thousand Cats, and it's animated, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're doing like What If, like, okay, we're gonna have the series, and then we'll have the animated series for the one-off stuff. Okay, this is gonna be cool. Then it gets to Calliope, and it's straight up normal people, so I'm like, okay, we're just doing one-offs then, which I love, and I'll explain why in a second. Anyhow, that's the new episode. The new episode is real, real good. Okay. I appreciate that as a comic book series, Sandman's a one-off. There's not other things that get up to that level. There are not things that, there's just nothing else like that. And brother, when I tell you that for comic book adaptations, everybody else needs to shelve that shit from now until the end of time, because what we talked about with Marvel that was so fantastic is they did not get caught up in replication. They focused on, this is character, and let's keep the character consistent. All I need is something that Steve Rogers does that makes sense with the guy I've read about. I don't need him doing the same stuff I've read about.
Yeah.
Sandman, on the other hand, as opposed to 75 years worth of comics, is 75 issues worth of comics. And apparently Neil Gaiman has said, no, this is the story, and we're just going to make a live action version of it. And brother, I'm here to tell you something. It is out of this fucking world fantastic. I loved every second of it. I can't believe how good it is. As much as I loved those books, I just can't believe what a great job they did on that series, man. From like casting to recreation of certain scenes to just everything about it is. I loved it. I thought it was
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. Casting is great. Just everything about it is so awesome and it's so ambitious because Sandman is huge and
Yeah.
by God beloved. But
Mm-hmm.
man, I haven't really watched any reviews because basically I'm being a jerk about it. And I'm like, if there's anyone that doesn't like it, I don't care. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay, man, because I like it enough for all of us.
Yeah.
But holy crap, is it good?
Cool.
And the last thing,
I do intend to get that watched. I haven't done that, but I did feel kind of like right when I had my Netflix expire, and that just a few weekends later, I
yeah,
realized that not only was it coming, and it's like on there. I was like, "Dadgummit."
yeah, man, it is definitely worth the time. And I'm trying to think of, I don't want to like ruin shit, but I was talking about the casting, and the casting is outstanding. They did an unbelievable job on most everybody. But one of the pieces of casting in particular that ties into the next story, the third phase of things I've been watching, is the character Matthew the Raven. Is the
Oh
voice
yeah.
is Patton Oswalt.
Oh yeah.
And so that got me to watch this video of Patton Oswalt on, I think it was GQ he was doing this for on YouTube. And he picked his, I think his 5 favorite or maybe 10 favorites and 5 least favorite science fiction movies, or maybe 5 of each or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's fun because he's cool, and so it's good to see what he thinks. But man, I'm gonna tell you something. He picked this movie as one of his favorites, called Coherence. Never heard of it before, but it was just so interesting the way he described it. He's basically explaining that it's a movie where these 8 people are getting together for a dinner party. They're having this nice night. Everything is all good. Drinking wine, telling jokes, having a good time. It's all good. And then basically, excuse me, over the course of the night, um, okay, let me not tell you guys too much, but over the course of the night, you find out one of the characters keeps talking about meteor showers because there's one going on. There's a comet, and she just keeps telling all these stories about these historical anomalies and these strange things that occur in line with comets or celestial events. And real early in the movie, she's having a phone conversation, and it cuts out. And so she's like, "Hey, are you there?" And you just hear this tink sound, and she pulls her phone away, and the screen cracked. One of the guys at the party, doing absolutely nothing, just talking at the dinner party, man, tink, his screen cracked. And it's like, what's going on here? That's so wild, man. That's what's happening. And he doesn't get nervous, but he's just a little bit like, my brother. My brother works, and he says something like whatever. It's like basically in astrology, and he was telling me, that as far as the comet is concerned, there's nothing to worry about. But if anything weird happened, I should get in touch with him. So he says that everyone's kind of freaking out a little bit. So they all decide that they are going to leave the house and just see what's going on because it's, first of all, it's Los Angeles, and when there's no lights on, man, you can actually see stars, and so it's kind of interesting. But also, they just walk outside. It's pitch dark. Everything is great because, again, the movie was made for no money, so cool. Do everything in the dark. Works well.
Yeah.
But there's this one house apparently on the other side of the neighborhood with all the lights on. So they're kind of fascinated by this, and they're walking over to it. The screen gets very dark, and they wind up like, you know what, guys, it's pretty dark over here. Let's turn back. So they head back to the house, but on the way they look up, and the comet's going over, and because all the lights, there's no light pollution, they can see it. And it's like, wow, this is fascinating, interesting. So they go back to the house, and a couple of the guys decide, you know what, we're going to go over to the house where the light's on because I got to get in touch with my brother. Now, don't nobody get nervous. It's nothing like that. It's just he told me if weird things happen. I think phones exploding for no reason is kind of weird. I'm going to get in touch with him, find out what's up. So they leave. They go to the house where the lights are on. They come back about 10 minutes later, and they're a little bit different. It's hard to explain why they're different, but they're just a little bit different. And ultimately, what happens then is you enter the second phase of the movie, and the explanation of the second phase of the movie is that this comet is basically opening a rift through the multiverse of madness, if you will. And so all these divergent timelines, all of these alternate realities are basically converging on each other. And there's basically this ring of, it's not dark matter, but it's symbolized by the darkness that kind of came in when they were outside, like, dude, we're not doing this, let's get back. So you have all these different versions of all these different people, because basically they're doing the same thing. They're all out exploring, trying to figure out what's going on. But as you cross over into this, as you come across that, it's not like you're trading one for two. You are potentially trading one for infinity. And just because you wind up over here at 7 doesn't mean this other person will. As a matter of fact, the odds of them winding up over there are practically impossible. So it just becomes this incredibly tangled, funky web of possibilities and just mystery. It was awesome. And that's just the first 2 phases, because when I tell you that phase 3, and this is something Patton did. This is the thing. This is something Patton did in his review, and I'm going to rip him off too. Patton Oswalt didn't even mention phase 3 in his review. So I'm being a jerk by even saying this, but I can't tell you a thing about that, because as I loved it, it was very good up to this point, but where it winds up from 2 to 3 absolutely blew my mind. Coherence. Unbelievable movie. I am so glad he mentioned it, because I had never heard of it. And it was wild because the credits come on, and like one of the, I think maybe the second or third guy's name that comes up is Nicholas Brendan, who's the guy that played Xander on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I'm like, I haven't seen this guy in years. So it was really nice to see him again.
Cool.
Pardon me. But yeah, between those 3 things, obviously, Sandman above all else. Because honestly, I've watched the whole series, I think 3 times now, and then I watched the one-off, the Calliope and Cats. I've seen that one twice now, because you know how it is. Whenever I get something I like, I just wear it out. They're incredible, man.
Cool, man. I like that. Man, but you Coherence reminded me of that was. I think it's the last thing I saw in a movie theater was I'd heard for several months about the movie Everywhere, Everything, All at Once, and I just and I was curious enough. I got to go find out. I got to go see it, and I knew going in that it was one of those kind of multiversey kind of things, and but I'd heard how great it was, but I sat down and I watched it, and I just kind of thought that everybody says, oh, the everything part, and then the everywhere, and the all at once, and it all comes together. And I said, I kept waiting for that big payoff that everybody told me was coming, and I got to the end of it, and I was like, what? What was this? I just did not like this movie nearly as much as everybody and people whose taste that I really do kind of jive with. They told me how great it was, and so I wanted to go see it. I was like, I don't know what the deal was. It was one of those kind of things. I just thought it would be more of a coherent story throughout. It's just the way I felt like I was described one movie and got another by all these good reviews that I've been hearing and hearing them describe the stories. Like, man, I can't wait to go see that. And then you get to it, I don't feel like we saw the same thing. And if there's anything in the movie that I didn't like, that I can remember specifically to criticize, there was just some jokes they went to far too many times. I think they thought was hella funny. I'm sure they thought that, but it was just one of those kind of things.
Not the screaming goat meme from Love and Thunder.
Oh yeah,
every single review I've watched for that movie, and some of them are just really, really silly. Some of them are just commentary axe grinders, but most of the reviews I watched were just people that didn't like the movie. But every single person that reviewed that movie is like, y'all, that meme wasn't funny when it was funny.
Yeah.
It's bad enough that you resurrected it, and then the fact that you thought you could make that joke 14 times in 11 seconds, and I'm like, oh, that's what that made me think of, is like, y'all, please.
And I just I went in with high hopes for this one, but it's that same kind of deal. It's got it similar Love and Thunder too. It would have been when you think of a craziest universe, what's going on with these characters that I could have, and you think something really out there and some. It's not that somebody's good. I think with a movie like this, there's not enough money involved for anybody to step and say, "No, you can't do that." But yeah, they thought of something really funny and out there, but they went back to it and back to it and back to it. It's like, this isn't funny anymore. It wasn't that funny to begin with? But I felt it was one of those kind of movies that I was sat down and I watched it and I was like, I don't know, man. I don't think I'm the wrong one. So I just don't get it this time. And I like to give movies more of a chance. I need to go watch it again, but haven't made it out to do that. I think it's probably. I'm sure it's already on streaming on something by now. But it was one of those movies. It's like, man, I did not see the same thing that everybody else did. I just did not, come away loving it the way I was told I would.
Yeah, man. I haven't made it to see that one yet. I haven't made it to the theater to see anything yet. But I mean, I guess the thing with the theater is if I'm not going to go watch Elvis in the theater, I might not ever go to the movie theater again, man. And
Yeah.
I've been waiting on HBO Max to get Elvis because I want to watch it. My thing with Elvis is I'm very excited about it, but I can't watch Elvis without my mom because that's who turned me on to Elvis in the first place.
Yeah.
And so subtitles are a big deal. We both love them, and she needs them. So we're okay. That's what we're gonna do. And my plan was to wait for HBO Max and then just stream it. But dude, it's like it's taken so long to get there that the disc will be out at the same time. And I'm like, I'm not giving HBO Max $20 to watch it when I could own the thing for that. Sounds crazy, but it's Elvis. I'm gonna want to see it more than once.
Oh
Why
man,
not get you a copy of it?
It's extremely good. I can tell you, I had a lot of fun watching that one. And it was it's Baz Luhrmann doing an Elvis movie that you cut first 10 or 15 minutes into it, like, this is the Elvis movie, right? but that's it was just kind of funny because even from the trailer, I heard the voice that Tom Hanks was using as the Colonel, and I was like, I don't know that the Colonel sounded that crazy, but it's just something about the accent. I was like, but I think part of the deal is they really do play up the whole. You never really knew what to believe with this guy, and he probably did make up a accent at that point in his life. But it was just one of those movies that I dug it a lot, and I thought there was pretty interesting choices of what to open. That was part of the fun of going to see it. Is like I was like, it part of the fun to go to some concerts is like, what are they going to open with? I was like, what is the absolute first Elvis song you're going to hear? Because and I thought it was surprising to me what they went with, but at the same time, it's like, what else could you do?
When they went full blasted against all odds.
Yeah, man. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But with opening the movie and playing over the credits, I thought, man, that was bold, but I dig it. I like it. I'm there for it.
I'm looking incredibly forward to it because obviously it's about Elvis, but also to Hanks's voice, to song selection, to it's the thing that I think I said this at the time, but if not, I'll say it now. Pardon me. Literally, the only thing that you can tell me that would get me more excited than just, oh, they're going to do a biopic about Elvis is Baz Luhrmann's doing a biopic about Elvis, because then you can take traditional biopic and throw it in the toilet, because Baz Luhrmann is such a unique and singular movie maker. It just makes it so exciting. I'm like, that is going to be awesome. So I'm very excited about it. But I've waited this long, and it's like, Yeah, I think it's September 19th or something like that when the disc comes out, and I'm like, yes, I'll make it. It'll be okay. And it's cool. I've got Sandman to watch for a whole other month, but I haven't memorized all the lines yet, so I've got work to do.
Yeah.
But seriously, that is the thing. Is like there are a lot of the musical biopics that are a little bit by the numbers that are still good, but that just seemed, my favorite one is Don Cheadle's Miles Davis movie because it's not even a biopic. It's hard to explain that to people, but it's cool. It was very cool. I love that movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not expecting Elvis to deviate quite that much from the subject matter, but that's not really the point. It's who's doing it. Like, oh my God, because I love Baz Luhrmann, so that makes me happy. And it's stupid, but I'll tell you that one of my immediate reaction when I first saw the preview and saw Austin Butler, this is really mean, but I'm going to say it anyway. The first time I saw Austin Butler, I said, thank God they found somebody that beautiful to play Elvis, because guess what? When you cast somebody that beautiful to play Elvis, all of the, well, he was dating his cousin and he was mean to women and he stole from black people, he stole from all the blues music. Yeah, all that shit goes right out the window because you all want to jump in bed with Austin Butler, don't you?
Yeah.
It sucks, but I'm right. And I know I'm right because it happens all the time. But anyway, man, I'm excited about that movie and it's very cool. And I just love me some Elvis, and I love Baz Luhrmann. So holy smokes, it's like getting both barrels of the old shotgun.
Yeah, man. I know you've heard me complain. I don't remember if I complained about it on here before, but I was complaining about the Baz Luhrmann Great Gatsby. That uh, I dug the movie, but it's just always been one of those stories that uh, I think it was probably more faithful than any other version of the story that there's been. And that sounds like a compliment, but you want to talk about a downer of a story, and it's a one and done. It's not something I could see. The movies that I guess regardless of my favorites, is the ones that you can watch again and again. And the Great Gatsby to me has always been like, I don't need to see that one again.
For me, that's very much the difference between favorite and not necessarily best, but there is a huge difference between what you think is your favorite and what you think is the best. Some of the best movies I've ever seen, I will never watch again. But my favorite ones, I'm with you. Favorite by definition, it's like, yeah, so it happens with songs a lot more than that. Excuse me. Because my favorite songs by like Mastodon are not necessarily the ones I think are best, but they're my favorites, the ones I want to hear the most often. So I totally agree with that, man.
Yeah. But it's uh, definitely worth going to see and check out. And I I was pleasantly surprised with Austin Butler and how good he was.
Yeah, buddy. I like it. I'm very, very happy that, because I haven't talked to anyone that saw it that didn't like it, and that's good. That's really good. Just makes me happy.
Yeah, man.
Looking forward to it. I gotta wait a little longer, but that's okay. I got stuff to tide me over, and but it just, man, the hits keep coming. As far as like, I wouldn't say I've been waiting for the Sandman movie for 20 years, but I've been a fan of the Sandman for 20 years. So when they finally get around to doing it, it's so good that I'm thrilled, you know?
Yeah.
So Elvis, we're doing a biopic and it's Baz Luhrmann. I'm like, oh my God, that's so exciting. And on that same subject, and here's a good example of how long it's been since we've done this show. Um, you and I like pro wrestling a little bit. We kind of like it. We like talking about it a little bit. Well, on some of our past shows, we have discussed not just AEW, but the idea of a company with non-exclusivity, the idea of cross promotion, the idea of this company working with that company, working with that company, and all the possibilities that could lead to and how cool it would be. And I'm pretty sure I know I've been vocal about it. I think I've been pretty direct that of all the stuff that could possibly happen in all this crossover multiverse world, there is one match above all others that I want to see. And that match is Jay and Mark Briscoe against FTR. And since the last time we talked, it has now happened twice.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. Some beautiful soul. I don't know the name of the account or the person that put it up. I will say that YouTube has left it up. And Tony Khan, who people love to talk crap about, oh, he's very litigious. He's always taking stuff down. He owns Ring of Honor. He hadn't taken it down. The first one is on YouTube. The second one is on YouTube. You can watch them both right now. And I appreciate why people love the second one so much, 2 out of 3 falls. And that last spot was nuts. Like the finish to that, I can't believe, just conceptually, I'm like, if I tried to do that with my action figures, I would think it was too unrealistic. Having said that, Briscoe's FTR, the match I have been hoping for and waiting for forever. I'm set. If I never saw pro wrestling again, I would be set. It was phenomenal. That match was outstanding. And whatever it takes, whatever it took, whoever had to leave this company or that company, whoever had to start this company or whatever it took, it was worth it to get that match because it was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I just find myself saying that a lot these days. But I've been very lucky in terms of content that I've been waiting a long time for. Then you get it, and it's like, I wasn't ready. I love that. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, man. That reminded me of one of the talk about movie stuff. Is that I was in one of those situations, one of those days where it's like I had some time to kill. So I'll go down to the movie show, and it was one of those kind of things like there's one or two things to choose from. It's like I really don't think I want to see either one of these. I'm going to hedge my bets on this one, and Top Gun Maverick ended up being way better than it had any business being. I was honestly interested enough to go check it out, and I'd heard the good things about it. And I was like, "Oh, I'll wait and see." And sure enough, that was one of those kind. It's one of those kind of movies that I could. There's no need to have any familiarity with the first one.
That's cool.
It catches you up really well, and it's it's one that I could see seeing again and again. But the first one, once you've seen it, you've kind of seen it. But this one, it's like it's one of those streaks. Like, why am I caring this much about movie that Goose's kid? But it does such a good job, and it was. I just did not expect to like that movie nearly as much as I did.
Every review that I've heard for it, that's kind of where people are landing. I think that's awesome. I think the idea of taking the action movie genre, which Top Gun did help to expand. People don't believe that, but they did, because as far as, how much money do you think Top Gun made? Because women and girls went and watched Tom Cruise and Kelly McGillis make out. There was a love story in that movie. It's not, well, it's really kind of underdeveloped, yeah, but in '86 it wasn't. It was nobody had ever seen anything like that before. So the idea of revisiting that movie and being like, well, there have been incredible strides in the action movie genre since then. Why don't we take some of the good parts and then put it back on this thing that kind of owes it? I'm not making a very good point, but I've heard really good things about it. My kind of jerky under the table inside baseball thing that I love is the fact that all of a sudden everybody can't get their lips off Miles Teller's ass. And I like that kid. I really like Miles, because I thought Spectacular Now was a very good movie. And I appreciate he takes over Fantastic Four, which was a sinking ship anyway. And for some reason, people really wanted to throw him under the bus for that. But nice for him to have his career back, because I like that kid. So that works for me. That's totally cool. And Tom Cruise is a strange guy. I like to see Tom succeed just because people shit on him out of routine. It really feels like most people that have problems with Tom Cruise can't really tell you what their problem is. They just think they're supposed to not like him, so they don't. But most of his movies, if you're just looking for a good time, you're probably going to find it. He's the biggest movie star ever. So that's cool, though. I'm quite glad that people are really enjoying that, because Top Gun was cool. I loved Top Gun when I was a kid, man.
Yeah, man. It's like good stuff. I was just, it was one of those kind of movies that was like, man, did that already come out? I mean, I thought I heard that was coming. And
me too. I really thought that. I was like, man, is this a third one? And it was like, well, I don't know what I did. But apparently I took a big long nap in there somewhere. But I'm very much with you. I thought it was coming out a lot sooner than it actually did. But then now it's here.
Yeah, they wanted to delay it because they wanted, people to. It something about jets and space stuff. I'm like, got to see it on the big screen, and I think that's what it got delayed for that reason. So, but that's ended up digging that one way more than I thought I would, and I was there for that one, and I dug it a lot.
That's awesome, man. It seems like I saw something else recently, and I don't remember now what it was. So I got to make a list of stuff, man. I'm really bad to forget, especially once you find the new thing that you're like into, and then all your focus goes there. But man, it seems like talked about Coherence, talked about Sandman, obviously. I can't believe it. Oh, I know what it was. I bought a copy. I have one of those, you have like standard things when you go to Amazon, you're always looking in to see if they'll drop the price a little bit.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of the Miyazaki Studio Ghibli movies that I do that with, because most of the big stuff I already have. But, there's a couple of other ones that I would like to see. And Nausicaa, The Valley of the Wind is the one I have always wanted to see the most. And I got on there one day and it was just like $8. It was dirt cheap. So I bought it and I watched it, and oh my, there's a new queen on the throne. That is my favorite one I've ever seen. It was awesome. I loved it. It was so cool, man. Again, just everything is super positive right now, man, as I'm just enjoying lots and lots of things.
Cool, man. That's that good stuff. I don't think this phone's about to die. I'm surprised it hadn't yet.
Yeah, for real. We're just counting down.
I feel it coming.
It's all good, man. We'll dip out before it decides to die. But seriously, thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I'll see y'all.
Yeah, take care, y'all. Thank you.
Bye.